Okay, we have reviewed these topics of lines today, and now we're going to get to some actual problems. Okay, so we've reviewed our delta y over delta x. We've talked about slopes being equal if they're parallel. We've talked about them being opposite reciprocals if they're perpendicular. And we've reviewed the slope-intercept and point-slope. Okay, so let's look at some actual problem sets. Let's say that I'm given this point, 2, 3, and I'm given the slope is -3/2, and I'm asked to write an equation of the line for those two pieces of information. Okay, write an equation of the line for this. Well, this is a good time to ask, what am I given? Well, I'm given a point and I'm given a slope. Sounds to me like I'm going to use the point-slope equation. It's much more efficient to do that. Okay? So I'm going to use y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then I'm just going to plug in my points. I'm going to plug and chug. All right? So my point is 2, 3. So I'm going to put 2 in for my x right here. I'm sorry, for my x1. Excuse me for my mistake there. I'm going to put it right here, so it's going to be x minus 2. I'm going to put my 3 in for y1, so that will be y minus 3. And then my slope of -3/2 will go right here, -3/2. Technically, I have an equation of the line. Now, what would I do if I wanted it to be in another form, like slope-intercept form? I don't have some algebra to do, right? I would need to do distributive property right here, which would give me -3/2 x plus whatever 3/2 times 2 is. I don't need a stinking calculator for that. I can factor that and see that that is 3. And here I have y minus 3. And then if I wanted to finish solving it, I would add 3 to both sides. And I have y equals -3/2 x plus 6. There is a nice, pretty equation of the line in slope-intercept form. You should be able to do that in your sleep by now. Now, what if they gave you, and some of these I'm not going to go all the way through because I just want to kind of refresh your memory what to do. What if they gave you 2 points, like -2, -1, and 3, 4. And then they said, write an equation of the line. Don't I need to do the song, delta y over delta x? I need to find the slope first. So I think you know how to do that. I would do 4 minus -1 over 3 minus -2. That would give me a slope. And then don't I have 2 points to pick from? Right? Right? I'll have a slope, and then I can either use this point or I can use this point and go back to the point-slope equation, just like the last problem from that point on. You can use either point. It will work with either point. Okay? What if they said, okay, here's a line that goes through the point -1, 2, and they want you to write the equation for the line, let's just say perpendicular to y equals 3x minus 4. Okay? So there's a line that goes through this point, negative 1, 2, and it's perpendicular to this line. So if it's perpendicular to this line, then its slope is going to be negative 1/3, the opposite reciprocal. Well, guess what you have now? That's why I said the point-slope equation is so useful to us, because now look what I have. I have a point and I have a slope. So I just plug it into y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1.
Can't you just plug the negative 1, 2 into that equation and find these?
Well, but you have to remember something. The line that we're talking about is the line that's perpendicular to this line. Okay? This is a much easier process. Just change your slope, make it the opposite reciprocal. That slope is going to go right here, negative 1/3. And then you're going to plug in your point, y minus 2, and then x minus a negative 1, which will become x plus 1. That's all you got to do. And then if you wanted it in slope-intercept form, you would solve it for y. Okay? Now, what if they told you, I think you should know how to do this. What if they asked you, they gave you this equation, 8x plus 5y equals 20, and they said to find the slope and the y-intercept and then graph. What if they told you to do all of that? What would we do? We got to get the y by itself and get it into slope-intercept form. All right. So I think you know how to do that. 8x plus 5y equals 20. I would subtract 8x. I'm going to work kind of quickly because this is basic algebra. 5y equals negative 8x plus 20. I would divide everything by 5. And I would have y equals negative 8/5 x plus 4. And guess what? I'm ready to graph it. I have a y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my y-intercept. And I have a slope of negative 8/5, which means I would go down 8 and over 5. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There would be my next point. Connect the dots. Okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to cover, and we may run out of time, is dealing with scatter plots and regression equations. We did these last year in pre-calculus, and you still need to know how to do them. What I really want to do is kind of give you some steps here first. You're going to start with the stat menu on your calculator. I know a lot of you don't have batteries in them anyway, so let me give you some steps. Start with stat, and then edit, and enter your values. That's the first thing that you need to do. Okay? Then you need, after you have entered your values, you're going to press second y equals. You will choose plot 1, and yes, I will go through all of this. Make sure the plot is on. Okay. You want your X list to be L1 and your Y list to be L2. All right. Then you will push graph. and you want to use zoom stat. All right. After you do that, then you will use stat, and this will all make sense after we do one. Stat calc to select the type of equation. Okay?